He stood at the edge of the village, clutching a wooden box that pulsed with an otherworldly glow. Behind him, the home where 17 generations of chiefs had lived. Ahead, a path into darkness. His father's final words echoed in his mind. Some things once sold can never be bought back. But Aiden didn't believe in curses. He believed in fortune, and the stranger's offer was too tempting to refuse. What he didn't know was that his decision would doom everyone he ever loved. This is the story of how ambition devoured an entire bloodline, and why some doors should never be opened. Let me take you back to where it all began, the village of Kalendor, nestled between ancient mountains and a forest that locals claimed was older than memory itself. Aiden Blackwood wasn't born poor, far from it. As the eldest son of Chief Matthias Blackwood, he was destined for power, respect, and responsibility. The Blackwood line had ruled Kalendor for 400 years. Every chief bore the mark of leadership, a sigil branded onto his right palm during the ceremony of ascension. But here's the thing about destiny. It feels like a prison when you're young. While other young men in the village could choose their paths, become merchants, scholars, or adventurers, Aiden's future was carved in stone. Every day was training, diplomacy lessons, conflict resolution, agricultural planning. The weight of tradition pressed down on his shoulders like an iron yoke. "You will lead these people," his father would say, his weathered hand resting on ancient scrolls. "It is not about what you want, it is about what they need." Aiden would nod, smile, play the dutiful son. But at night, he'd climb to the watchtower and stare at the distant lights of other villages, other cities, other lives. He'd imagine wealth beyond measure, freedom, adventure, a name built on his own merits, not inherited from dusty ancestors. The village elders praised him as wise beyond his years. The young women blushed when he passed. Children looked at him with awe, but Aiden felt like a ghost haunting his own life, present but not truly there. Then came the festival of the harvest moon. Every autumn, Kalendor hosted traders from across the realm. Merchants hawked spices from the southern deserts. Craftsmen displayed jewelry that caught the firelight like captured stars. The village square transformed into a maze of color, sound, and possibility. Aiden walked through the festival, performing his role, shaking hands, settling minor disputes, blessing the harvest. Another duty, another performance. That's when he saw the stranger. The man stood apart from the other merchants, his stall draped in black silk that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. No goods were displayed, no prices announced. He simply stood there, watching Aiden with eyes that were too bright, too knowing. Something pulled Aiden toward that stall. Not curiosity exactly, something deeper, older. "Young chief, or should I say, future chief, tell me, does the crown fit comfortably before it's placed on your head?" "I don't believe we've been introduced." "Names are such limiting things," the stranger smiled, revealing teeth just a shade too white. "I deal in possibilities, not introductions, and I've been watching you, Aiden Blackwood. I see a man suffocating in silk, a wolf forced to play the sheepdog." "You know nothing about me." "Don't I?" The stranger leaned forward. "Every night you climb that tower, every night you dream of escape, but you're too honorable to simply leave, too bound by duty. So you suffer in silence, year after year, until the chains feel like skin, and you forget you were ever meant to fly." The accuracy of it knocked the air from his lungs. "I have something that could change everything," the stranger continued. He produced a small wooden box, carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. Inside this box is the EVERCOFFER, a fortune that never diminishes. Enough wealth to buy kingdoms, to travel the world, to build a legacy entirely your own. Aiden's heart hammered. What's the price? Ah, the stranger's smile widened. Perceptive. The price is simple, your birthright. Not your life, not your soul, just the claim to your father's throne. Sign this contract and you walk away from Kalendor forever, but you walk away with everything you ever wanted. He slid a parchment across the black silk. The words writhed on the page, never quite staying still. This is madness, Aiden said, but his hands trembled as he reached for the contract. Is it? You have 2 younger brothers, talented boys. Either could lead in your stead. Your father has years left in him. The village will survive without you. The stranger's voice dropped to a whisper. But will you survive becoming the village? Aiden thought of his brother Callum, disciplined, devoted, everything a chief should be. He thought of a lifetime of council meetings and crop reports, of marrying for alliance rather than love, of watching the world shrink to the borders of Kalendor. If you sign, you take the box and leave tonight. The contract binds you from ever returning to Kalendor or claiming leadership. In exchange, the EVERCOFFER is yours, wealth beyond measure, freedom beyond price. The music from the festival seemed distant now, like it was happening in another world. Aiden picked up the quill. He signed quickly before courage could fail. The moment the ink touched parchment, the world lurched. The contract burst into flames that gave off no heat, reducing to ash that blew away on a wind that shouldn't have existed inside the tent. The stranger handed him the box. It was warm, pulsing, alive. One warning, the stranger said as Aiden turned to leave. The EVERCOFFER sustains itself through certain exchanges, but you needn't worry about the details. Enjoy your fortune, Aiden Blackwood. Or should I say, Aiden the Free. Aiden barely heard him. The box called to him like a second heartbeat. He left the festival without goodbye, packed a small bag, wrote a letter to his father. Lies about needing to find his own path, promises to return someday that felt hollow even as he wrote them. By dawn, he was 10 miles from Kalendor, the village disappearing behind the mountain curve. The box opened easily. Inside, gold coins filled it to the brim. Aiden grabbed a handful, and the level didn't drop. He grabbed more, still full. He laughed, the sound manic in the empty forest. He bought a horse in the next village, fine clothes, a sword with a jeweled hilt. He stayed in the best inns, ate the finest foods, and for the first time in his life felt truly alive. 3 weeks later, the dream started. Faces he recognized from Kalendor, twisted in agony. His father calling his name, voice cracking with desperation. His mother weeping blood. His brother Callum screaming as something dark enveloped him. Aiden told himself they were guilt-induced nightmares, nothing more. Then he met a traveler heading toward Kalendor, a merchant named Graves, who knew his father. "You're Matthias Blackwood's son," Graves exclaimed. "Thank the gods! You must return immediately. The village is plagued. People are falling ill with something the healers can't identify. Your father himself is bedridden, raving about shadows and debts unpaid." Ice flooded his veins. When did this start? The night of the Harvest Moon Festival, 3 weeks ago. The same night he'd signed the contract. Aiden rode hard for Kalendor, the EVERCOFFER box strapped to his saddle. With every mile, dread coiled tighter in his gut. He arrived at sunset to find the village transformed. Where vibrant homes once stood, now sagged structures with peeling paint. The gardens, once lush, were withered. And the people, The people looked like ghosts, hollow-eyed, gaunt, moving through the streets like sleepwalkers. He found his father in the chief's hall and barely recognized him. Matthias Blackwood had aged 30 years in 3 weeks. His skin clung to his skull. His eyes were sunken, yellowed. "Aiden," he whispered, "my son, you came back." "What happened here?" His father's laugh was bitter. "We are being consumed. Life itself is draining from Kael'thas. The crops wither overnight. Animals die in their sleep. The children no longer laugh." He grabbed Aiden's wrist with surprising strength. "It started the night you disappeared. Tell me you had nothing to do with this." Aiden couldn't speak. His younger brother Callum entered, and he looked hardly better. "You need to see something," he said grimly. They took him to the village square, the ancient oak of founders, a tree that had stood for 600 years, was now blackened and dead. Carved into its trunk were words that made Aiden's blood freeze. "A birthright sold, a village's soul. The price is paid in life and light." "We found this a week ago," Callum said, "along with reports from every family. People are having the same nightmare, a stranger in black, counting coins made from their memories, their vitality, their very essence. And he laughs, Aiden. In every dream, he laughs and says, 'The contract must balance.'" Aiden pulled out the EVERCOFFER box, hands shaking. "I made a deal. I thought I was only selling my claim to leadership." "You sold more than that," came a voice from the shadows. The stranger stepped into the torchlight, looking exactly as he had at the festival. Behind him, reality seemed to crack and split. "You see, Aiden, a birthright isn't just legal authority. It's a spiritual bond. The Blackwoods and Kael'thas are connected at the deepest level. Your ancestors didn't just rule this village, they fed it with their life force, and it fed them in return. When you severed that connection and took payment, the contract demanded balance." "I didn't know." "Ignorance doesn't nullify a contract. The EVERCOFFER sustains itself by draining the life from your former home. Every coin you spent was bought with a villager's breath. Every meal you enjoyed cost someone their strength. You wanted wealth without responsibility, Aiden. The universe gave you exactly that." Matthias Blackwood stepped forward, trembling. "What must we do to break this contract?" The stranger's smile was terrible. "There's only one way. Aiden must return everything he took, every coin, every comfort, every moment of freedom, and reclaim his birthright. But the EVERCOFFER has been opened and used. To close it now requires a sacrifice equal to what was taken." "What does that mean?" Aiden demanded. "It means," the stranger said softly, "that you must give back all the life you stole. And since you spent 3 weeks living on borrowed vitality, you'll have to pay with 3 times that in return. Roughly 2 months of your own life force, condensed into a single moment." "He'll die," Callum breathed. "Eventually, yes. The process will age him rapidly. He'll have perhaps a week to set things in order." Aiden looked at the faces around him. His father dying from his selfishness, his brother betrayed by his cowardice, the villagers innocent victims of his ambition. "How do I do it?" he asked. "No!" His father lunged forward. "There must be another way. I'm old. Take my life instead." "The contract binds only Aiden. His choice, his consequence." The stranger produced a silver knife. Cut your palm where the mark of leadership should have been branded. Let your blood touch the EVERCOFFER. Speak the words of reclamation. The rest will follow naturally. Aiden took the knife. His hand was steady now. Strange how calm he felt. I'm sorry to you, Father. I was so afraid of being trapped that I didn't realize I was already free. Every choice you made, every lesson you taught, it was all to give me the power to lead with wisdom. I saw chains where you meant to give me wings. Matthias wept. You were never a disappointment, my son. Even now, especially now, you make me proud. Aiden cut his palm. The pain was sharp, clean. He pressed his bleeding hand to the EVERCOFFER. I, Aiden Blackwood, reclaim my birthright. I call back what is stolen. I pay what is owed. The box erupted in light, not warm now, but searing. Tendrils of luminescence shot from it into the ground, spreading through Kalindor like roots. Aiden felt the life draining from him in a torrent. His legs buckled. But he also felt something else. The village responding. The bond reforming, strength flowing back to the people, color coming to the world. The stranger watched, expression unreadable. Then, just before he faded into shadow, he leaned close to Aiden. You know what's interesting? I made similar offers to both your brothers. They refused without hesitation. But you were the only one tempted enough to sign. Perhaps that's why you were meant to be chief after all. Only someone who understands temptation can truly guard against it. Then he was gone. Aiden Blackwood lived for 6 more days. In that time he underwent the ceremony of ascension, receiving the mark on his palm, pressed directly into his wound, binding him to Kalindor forever. He spent those days teaching Callum everything he'd learned, not from books and duty, but from his mistake, about the seduction of easy answers, about the hidden costs of selfish choices, and how true freedom comes not from escaping responsibility, but from choosing it willingly. On the 7th day, surrounded by his family, Aiden died. He was 24 years old, but looked ancient. His father said he'd never seen anyone face death with such peace. Kalindor recovered fully within the year. Under Callum's leadership, it prospered. But they never forgot Aiden's story. Above the chief's hall, they mounted a plaque with words Aiden had dictated from his deathbed. What you inherit is not a burden, but a gift. What you pursue is not freedom, but its shadow. The heaviest chains are those we forge ourselves, and the truest wealth is knowing which battles are worth fighting. And sometimes they're worth living for, too. The truth that Aiden learned in those final days is this: your birthright isn't what you're given, it's what you choose to protect. Not for glory, not for wealth, but because some things, family, community, honor, are worth dying for, and sometimes they're worth living for, too. The village chief's son thought he was buying freedom. Instead, he learned that we're all bound to something. The only question is whether those bonds become chains or wings. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of ambition, consequence, and the hidden costs of our deepest desires. And remember, the next time someone offers you everything you've ever wanted, ask yourself what you're really selling. Thanks for watching. Until next time, choose your contracts wisely.